Fish by Elizabeth Bishop. I caught a tremendous fish and held him beside the boat, half out of the water with my hook fast in the corner of his mouth. He didn't fight. He hadn't fought at all. He hung a great grunting weight, battered and venerable and homely. Here and there his brown skin hung in strips like ancient wallpaper, and its pattern of darker brown was like wallpaper. Shapes like full-blown roses, stained and lost through the age. He was speckled with barnacles, fine rosettes of lime, and infested with tiny white sea lice. And underneath 2 or 3 rags of green weed hung down, while his gills were breathing in the terrible oxygen, the frightening gills, fresh and crisp with blood, that can cut so badly. I thought of the coarse white flesh, packed in like feathers, the big bones and the little bones, the dramatic reds and blacks of his shiny entrails, and the pink swim bladder, like a big peony. I looked into his eyes, which were far larger than mine, but shallower and yellowed, the irises backed and packed with tarnished tinfoil, seen through the lenses of old scratched isinglass. They shifted a little, but not to return my stare. It was more like the tipping of an object toward the light. I admired his sullen face, the mechanism of his jaw, and then I saw that from his lower lip, if you could call it a lip, grim, wet, and weapon-like, hung 5 old pieces of fish line, or 4 and a wire leader, with the swivel still attached, with all their 5 big hooks grown firmly in his mouth. A green line, frayed at the end where he broke it, 2 heavier lines, and a fine black thread still crimped from the strain and snap where it broke and he got away. Like medals with their ribbons frayed and wavering, a 5-haired beard of wisdom trailing from his aching jaw. I stared, and victory filled up the little rented boat. From the pool of bilge where oil had spread a rainbow, around the rusted engine to the bailer rusted orange, the sun cracked thwarts and the oarlocks on their strings, the gunnels, until everything was rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. And I let the fish go. So one of the prevailing images is that, or kind of contradictions, juxtapositions, is realistically this is an ugly fish. It's, brown, it's got covered in barnacles, it's got sea lice, and it's got weeds all over it. But on the other hand, it's also described as being quite beautiful. Right? It's got its skin is like wallpaper, and it's got shapes like these flowers. And what's more is, at the end, a rainbow, which is generally considered to be quite beautiful, spreads from this boat, which is also described as, and can conceivably be thought of as quite ugly. So, one of the kind of themes that runs through it is finding the beauty in something that perhaps isn't traditionally beautiful. What's more is the fisher, she seems quite unimpressed by the fish at first, or at least disappointed in it not fighting. But the more she had inspected the fish, the more and more pleasure she got out of it, until when she realized that this fish had defeated at least 5 other fishermen. And so she sort of triumphs in that. And so you can read into this that you kind of get out of an experience what you are willing to get out of it. So if you're disappointed initially, it might be because you're not looking hard enough, or you're not trying. You've underestimated or perhaps taken for granted what the experience is. And finally, the cost of wisdom. This fish is considered, it doesn't struggle the last time, but clearly it had won these other 5 battles, and it could be kind of construed that wisdom comes at the cost of experience and struggle. And so perhaps we shouldn't be afraid of the struggle. Anyway, that's just a really shallow dive into The Fish by Elizabeth Bishop. Thank you.